Sony made a big mistake. Keanu is coming back to the Matrix, and we're gonna be able to save wherever we want, because that's our destiny. It's coming up on WHHW.
Loading snacks.
What it do, snackers and snack guests? It's your boy Gage. This is what had happened was, it's last week's news, and I need y'all to know a couple of things. So in order to tell you those things, first I gotta have somebody hook me up.
Number one.
Okay, listen. Sony, Disney, Marvel, Spider-Man, MCU. It's all crazy. It's all crazy right now. But here's the deal. Apparently, renegotiations between Disney and Marvel and Sony over the rights to Spider-Man's film-making abilities have broken down. They broke down, and now maybe we don't get Spider-Man in the MCU. Boo this,
Boo,
and boo that. We don't like this. Look, here's the deal. Right now, the fact that Sony still owns the rights to make Spider-Man movies is a great bargaining chip for them. Apparently, though, the current deal, or the deal as it existed, was that Disney got 5% of the first gross from the Spider-Man films, and Disney was allowed to use Spider-Man in the MCU films and therefore tie them all together, right? Right. But Disney apparently came to the table after the successes of this year and said, check this out, we want to do 50-50, which is a big jump. But they're not just asking 50% of the profits, they're talking about putting up 50% of the costs. Okay?
Okay.
That's important. And while I think 50 is a big jump, I think Sony is making a mistake from walking away from a deal. Now, I understand that Sony apparently did come back to the table with some other offers, and we don't know what they are. Okay, but Disney was not willing to deal, and maybe that's a bad move on Disney's part. But I believe that the MCU has a better chance of surviving just fine without Spider-Man than Sony does having Spider-Man without the MCU. Let's just make that clear. That with the success that Sony has had with Far From Home, great movie. It is their most successful movie of all time. The most successful Sony film of all time, Spider-Man Far From Home. It has knocked their former most successful film, which was James Bond Skyfall, out of the number one spot. Let us not even for a moment forget that is because of the success of Endgame and the fact that Spider-Man is right on the heels of that story, and that it being tied to the MCU is literally a direct reason for the success of that film. Not that it's not a good film. Not that Tom Holland's not a great Spider-Man, or we don't like Zendaya as MJ, or any of those things. But let's just see what it is for what it is. The current run of Spider-Man films, the success that they have seen, Spider-Man directly, are a direct result of being tied to the MCU, and people who want to see what's happening next going to see those films. Combined with the popularity of Spider-Man already.
I'm one of those people. I was just agreeing. I'm one of those people.
You're one of those people.
I'm not a big Spider-Man fan.
Sure.
But having him come to the MCU, I'm excited.
It's major.
For his movies to see how he fits in and where it goes.
And listen, again, I just want to make this clear. Do I think Disney's asking too much? Yes. Do I think Sony needs to find a way to make it work? Absolutely. Because if they don't make it work, they will suffer. And I'm going to tell you why. Not because of what you think it is. Great success with Venom, not positive why, but great success with Venom and great success with Spider-Verse aside. Let's keep in mind that Kevin Feige, the sort of mastermind executive producer behind all of these films, is currently arguably the greatest executive producer of all time, because nobody else has successfully done what he has done, especially not in a 10-year span. So pick your Spielbergs or your Scorseses or whatever and run their lineup against his lineup and see who's got the most success, especially in such a short period of time. Feige's the one. But more importantly, he did it with Ant-Man. Ant-Man. You don't care about Ant-Man. I don't care what you say. You didn't care about Ant-Man before he was in the MCU. You also didn't care about Guardians of the Galaxy. Still, even their not great films are huge successes. Sony needs to keep that in mind. I need to know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Please hook me up.
Number 2.
So, hot on the heels of this whole Sony, Disney, MCU, Spider-Man news was more sort of superheroic news about how Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss will in fact be in The Matrix 4. Is that exciting or no? Do we care?
Yeah, we care.
I care.
I care.
We're not sure how it's going to work, right?
Right.
Okay. Also important to understand that at least one of the Wachowskis is coming back for this film. I don't know which of the sisters off the top of my head. That's bad on my part, but you guys are great at Googling and interneting, so look it up. That also was an important piece of this puzzle, I would say. Now, not knowing what The Matrix 4 is, I do think there are periods in between the films that could possibly be explored, like Enter the Matrix, Path of Neo, video game style in between films, possibly. Because I think, spoiler alert, that they're dead. I think at the end of The Matrix,
Trinity most certainly is dead.
was no longer.
Neo just got pulled off by the giant robot thing, so presumably to be dead.
So yeah, not sure what this is gonna be, but I would love to hear what you think it's gonna be and whether or not you're excited about this or not. I'm gonna go see it.
Oh yeah.
Wait. After the second trailer, I'm gonna make a decision, and then I'm gonna probably go see it. Hook me up.
Number 3.
Cross saves. You might not know what that is. For a lot of you, it probably doesn't mean anything. But for those of you who play Destiny 2, it's a big deal. And here's why. Because now, if you play on one system, you can save your character and then take that save and play on another system. Meaning that if you have friends that play on Xbox and you play with them, you can now keep your progression from that character and continue to play with people who are your friends on PlayStation, which I think is pretty dope.
Wonderful thing.
Now, why is this even more important than that? Well, first and foremost, it sets a precedent that is kind of important. We are beginning to see cross-play become a real thing. Sony is having to loosen the reins. It just is what it is. You lost this one again, Sony. Right now, you've been making people mad, Sony. So this is one of those things, but as cross-play continues to become a thing, right? Like Call of Duty has just said it, like cross-play across all platforms, PC, Xbox, PlayStation, y'all can just play together. That's major.
Oh yeah.
Big.
That's major. And will be a big deal going into the next generation of consoles, because if this continues, this trend continues to be a thing, then exclusives will be more important than third party. This time around, this last generation of video game consoles, third party played a major role in it. If you remember, even though PlayStation was way outpacing Xbox as far as sales of the consoles were concerned, really, they failed to get their first-party studio games out on time the first couple of years, and really banked on and used the holiday period to sell third-party titles like Call of Duty, which went from having a deal for marketing with Xbox to having a deal with marketing with PlayStation in this console generation. That may not be such a big deal going into the next generation if, regardless of what console you own, you can buy the game and still play with all your friends. That's a big deal. Destiny being who they are, being a company that was technically owned by Microsoft being given to give us free from Microsoft, going off, making Destiny, and then doing a marketing deal with Sony where if you were on PlayStation, you got content first a year ahead of Xbox. Now that Bungie is free from Activision after that acquisition, and they are doing their own thing as an independent studio, which is a great thing, they have decided that they want to do things that keep their fan base together and not split that fan base. And that is the same kind of thing I think all developers are looking for. They want to make sure that their fan bases can all play together regardless of where they play, which really has been the mantra coming from Xbox for like the last 3 or 4 years. That feels like a Phil Spencer thing.
And I'm happy that the big companies are the ones that are leading the charge.
That's exactly right.
And going forward, because now
everybody has to do it.
Yeah.
But it didn't. I mean, Fortnite is big. It was big. Epic is big, and they really led that charge. But like, you got smaller indies that are like, yeah, let's just, let everybody play together.
Yeah.
I think having somebody like Destiny do it, which is a huge game, at least the cross-save part is still that major, because it means even if you have to buy the game multiple times over, which again, the game is going free, it's also a big deal considering it's coming to Stadia, and Stadia for free, and you can kind of take that anywhere and play wherever. It's going to be a big deal. It speaks a lot to what the future of video gaming looks like. So mark this day, because I feel like this is a pin in the start of something new that is going to change the landscape of video gaming for the rest of our foreseeable futures. I don't have any more on that, but if you do, let me know in the comments below. I want to take a moment to thank the gentleman behind the camera for participating, making me look good, and all of those of you who are already following us on Patreon, love y'all. Y'all my favorites. Those who aren't on Patreon, love y'all too. Might not be y'all my favorites too, but I would like you a little bit more if you just, Patreon. It's a thing. Anyway, I'm gonna get up out of here. Toodles and loos. What it do, snackers and snackettes? Did you like what you just saw? Would you like to help us grow? Here's what you can do. Shoot over to patreon.com/loading snacks, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on your favorite platform of choice. Appreciate you.